Sorry.
I don't want to sit on somebody else's shield.
Oh, Lord.
Now I will put my shield on somebody else's shield and sit on that shield. But
All right. Y'all been having a good SKBC so far?
Yes.
What'd y'all think about pods? Good, bad, different?
Better than Tide Pods.
Y'all like pods better than Tide Pods? Did you eat Tide Pods?
No.
I wish.
Pretty tasty.
I heard they were good.
forbidden candy.
Forbidden candy. Yeah, it was our first time trying pods.
If you eat a Tide Pod at healer tournaments, then you automatically win.
God.
Oh yeah, eat Tide Pod. All right.
Eat a Tide Pod, instant tournament victory.
Well, I'm James, aka Dalos. This is Morpheus.
Morpheus stroke. Polaris.
Oh yeah, I'm from the ATX, the mecca of phone fighting, the Golden City, blah blah blah. So we'll start over here. So the class, where you're from, what you hope to learn, and we'll make sure that we I can't say we'll make sure, but we'll probably get covered. And yeah, because I probably have 10 hours worth of material, and so I can tailor it to what you guys are really looking for. Make sure we I tailor it to every class that comes. But this one may be my last one, so I'm gonna throw a bunch of stuff out there just in case that's the case that I've been holding. So anyway, go ahead over here.
I'm Starchild. I'm from Midland over in GP. I'm just hoping to speed my thinking up while I'm fighting. So.
All right, speed up thinking. Cool.
I'm Zoel, originally from the Golden Plains, but now here at Winter's Edge, and hope to improve my offensive tactical capability, hope open up the doors.
Offensive tactical capability. All right.
I'm from Polaris, up in Wisconsin. Just looking for more ways to improve my fighting at this point.
Okay.
Hope from Polaris in Wisconsin. I need to be a lot better at reading what my opponent's going to do so I can respond appropriately.
All right.
I'm Corvo. I'm from Winter's Edge. I just want to refine what I'm already working on and get better at making those just snap decisions when they count.
Right.
It all got to go when your foot hits the ground, right?
Got to what?
You got to make that decision when your foot hits the ground,
Yeah, for sure.
St. 90, Polaris in Wisconsin. I do it mostly to, again, better my fighting skills in general, but also get to a point where I don't have to think about it as much in the fight. I can plan it and just go for it.
Okay. Okay.
I'm Bob. I'm from the Terracing Delegate Realm in Ames, Iowa. And I want to improve just most aspects of my fighting. So,
okay.
And the mental side.
Cool.
I'm Coach. I'm also from Tears Lane, Ames, Iowa. I'm here to try and turn conscious thoughts into unconscious thoughts to not think about stuff as much.
All right. We'll finish out in the back row.
Okay. I'm Cheaper. I'm from St. Louis, Tyler Gore, and I'm just gonna echo what someone else already said. Just being able to read my opponent a little bit better.
All right, read. That's cool. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that.
I'm Phil Jaden. I'm from Tyler Gore, St. Louis, and I'm hoping to learn and create better opportunities with my phone.
Cool. Back to the front.
I'm Telfair. I'm from Albion, Dagger here, and I'm looking to be a good fighter, not an aggressive fighter.
A good fighter, not an aggressive fighter. Okay.
I'm Aaron Silver of Winter's Edge and the Belagarth realm of Jerdamarian. I am here for two reasons. One, to get better at formulating a plan of attack, and also to get better at not hesitating in the moment to think about what I'm going to do next.
Oh yeah, yep.
I'm Malum. Everybody calls me Giggles.
I wonder why.
I am just floating around in New York. I have nothing around me. And I lizard brain when I fight 95% of the time, and I want to be able to not do that anymore.
Okay.
Tiberius from Polaris. I am looking to be able to switch between like an offensive combat computer versus a defensive one. A
little bit better than I'm doing now.
All right. Cue ball from Polaris as well. I'm looking to, be able to read opponents in tournaments and standings mostly, and just improve my effects in that.
Cool.
I'm Benatar from the Rising Winds. I'm mostly looking to improve my mental game because I get stuck between thinking too much and not thinking enough. And not reading that middle ground, and then otherwise just being able to read a fight better.
All right.
I'm Karis. I'm from Brixton, Bellegarde, in Greenville, South Carolina, and I am looking to, I guess, fix my brain so that I know what I'm thinking about and can make a decision on it, and not just black out or overanalyze all the situations that I could be doing.
Okay.
Honesty from Dominion Dagger here or Rivermore, Apgard, and very much the same. I have a bigger background than Dagger here, where most of it is like line fighting and bull fighting, and now I'm doing more Apgard, switching over to flow and sword and board, and just trying to figure that all out. Trying to think more about approaches of things and approaching it smarter, not harder.
All right. Usually in this class at this point, I ask, oh, hold on. You just came in late. What's your name?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I saw Dasani come over here.
Dasani came in late too.
Sit over here. What are you doing?
We'll get to him too.
I'm Kaput. I'm from Gaia's Grove in Tal'Dagor.
Okay.
And I'm mostly just trying to incorporate more defensive things into my combat computer I already kind of have.
Okay, cool.
Like, it's just so I'm not getting, because I'm not dying as much when I could be winning.
Okay. All right, cool. And we'll close out.
What's the question? Sorry.
Just your name, where you're from, and what you're hoping to learn.
My name's Dasani. I'm from Winter's Edge, Apgard. I just want to learn how to analyze an opponent better, be able to get into a fight without overthinking it, without trying to think 30 steps ahead, instead of just focusing on the moment.
Cool. Okay, so normally at this point in the class, and we'll get to this, I would talk about what's important on your opponent. Like, what do you look at? What are the things that you see, especially if you don't know them? Because the truth of the matter is you spend 80% of your time, 90% of your time in Amp-Guard or in Bell or whatever, in phone fighting people that you fight all the time. And we'll go back and we'll revisit that and talk about like how to get reads on them, how to give them fake reads, like how to mess with them and the things that they know about you, and we'll get back to that because that's really like the most entertaining and fun thing that you can do with people. But what I really want to focus on that's different this year is really understanding yourself, because we haven't talked about it a ton before in Combat Computer. If you've been to Combat, who's been to Combat Computer before? Anybody? No, so we don't have any. Well, yeah, he has. Oh, you have before too. Yeah. Okay, so you really have to understand yourself and what do you think about when you go into a fight, right? Most of you will probably tell me I don't think about anything, right? That's what a lot of people's answer is. I go into a fight and I don't think about anything. And so what do you end up doing? I end up defaulting to something terrible, right? Some kind of garbage opener. And so when I ask you, why did you do that, right? Or your local good fighter, if they're a warlord or whatever, your local good fighter, if they're good enough to help you, or if they want to help you, or your buddy that wants to help you, or if you're self-reflective and you ask yourself, why did I do that? You have no good answer, right? So you have to get to the point first, before you even start talking externally, right? Before we even think about external, let's go internal, right? We have to go internal with this first. And then that's why we're going to go a little bit different this year. We're going to go internal first. Why am I doing the things that I do? And why do I decide to do that? What do I think about? The external forces are going to play into it a little bit, but the decisions that you make have to be based on, what do I have? What are my strengths, right? What am I good at? What do I want to impose on X? It shouldn't really matter a ton what X is. It's going to matter a little bit, but first you have to say, these are the things that I know that I'm good at. This is the situation that I want to put them into, right? Like I'm going to pick on you a little bit. We had a conversation earlier today in pods, right? Tall dude, long arms, throwing himself on people's swords.
Crush.
Throwing himself like into the mix right on people's swords. For whatever reason. He doesn't know, right? I certainly don't know, but I know he doesn't know. Why do I know he doesn't know? Because there's no good reason for it, right? And so the conversation was had, back off on that, be patient, understand, like, I have long arms, I'm tall, I'm going to bring them into my space, I'm going to fight the fight that I want to fight, right? At first I told him to fight arms, which isn't my favorite thing in the world. I don't like people doing that. Like, I hate that a little bit, but it's about learning, right? If he learns to fight someone's arm at range, then he can learn to hit shoulder too. He can learn to hit hip too eventually. But first he has to learn, right, I'm going to hit with this part of my sword. Right. This is the only part of the sword that I care about hitting with. Max range, for me, they have to come into my space. I'm going to maintain, right? Now he has a thought in his head when he goes into a fight. Right now when you go into a fight, you have a thought in your head that you did not have before. You have a course of action. That's the beginning of combat computer, having a course of action, right? Right now, if you don't have one, if you don't at least have a plan, you're in big trouble. You're going in blind. You're going, well, I've told a few people this today during pods, hope is not a strategy, right? Hope is not a strategy. If you go in and you go, I hope I win, well, you might be a strategy, Hope, I'm sorry, I know that's your name, right? Hope is not a strategy. You can't go in and go, oh, I hope that I can catch this block, and then if I catch this block, then I might can do some shit and win a fight. That is not a strategy. That is not how you win fights. You have to have a path to victory, right? Before we can look externally, which we're going to do in a second, but before we can look externally and go, they're this, and they're this, and they're this, and they're this, and I'm going to take this information, I'm going to build a plan, we have to know what we offer to the situation, right? So we can build a path to victory. Everything about combat computer is, how do I build a path to victory? So what do I bring, right? What are my strengths? For me, I have a very good defense. For me, I have reasonably fast hands. For me, I understand the game, and I understand how to make people move where I need them to. I have good feet, right? Those are the things that I think are my strengths. And so I go, all right, I'm going to create an angle where I am at minimal risk, they're at high risk, right? Now, what do they bring to the situation? How do I do that? But I have the beginnings of a strategy. Then I go, these are the shots I'm good at, right? Then I go, these are the shots that I know I'm good at. Cool. You have the shots that you know you're good at. You should all know the shots that you're good at, right? So now that's the next layer. I know this is the defense I'm good at. This is where my defense is weak. You should know that, and you should be working on it, right? But you should know where your weaknesses are, right? So you want to minimize that, right? All right, I know I'm weak here, right? You got to minimize that, especially if it's something that they're like, oh, my board side shoulder defense is bad. That dude's 6'5". That's problematic for you, okay? Going into that fight, you already know that that's a problem. My board side defense is bad, and that dude's 6'5". So when you approach that fight, you go, okay, I have to do something to minimize that, right? I have to formulate something that makes sure that I take care of that problem. Right now, what do? I hope I don't get hit in the board side shoulder. That's what you do right now mostly, right? Be honest, right? That's what you do right now. I hope I don't get hit in the board side shoulder. Oh no, or even worse, oh no, I'm going to get hit in the board side shoulder again, right? You go into the fight and already you have a defeatist attitude. Oh no, I know it. I'm going to get hit in the board side shoulder again, right? And that's even worse than just I hope that I'm going to do something. Like you already have in your head, you've already lost the fight, right? Or oh no, I know I'm going to get hit in the hip again. Like here it comes, I'm going to get hit in the hip again, right? Instead of like, okay, I'm weak here. Now how do I take that away? Like how do I fix that problem, right? I know this is like, I'll give you a prime example from last week, right? Arthon got a new board, a waiter tray shield. He had a waiter tray shield a long time ago, right? And they made him a new one. Well, I was watching him fight with it, and I was like giving him advice on how to use it. And finally, I'm just like, hold on, let me use it, right? And I died a couple times, but then I started making adjustments, right? Because why? I figured out where I was weak with it, and I started fixing it in the moment. I saw where it was weak, and then I started fixing it. Okay, it has a little bit of weakness. sword side hip. So I got to move a little more to take that away, right? These are the kind of things that you do in the moment to start fixing things. If you have a problem, you don't hope that they don't throw there. You go, I move to take that away, right? Or like if you prefer to block with your sword, I personally hate that, but if you prefer to do it, then I'm going to put my sword block there and have that ready because I know that it's weak there with the shield, right? You have to figure it out ahead of time and take things away, right? That's internalizing and understanding you, right? Have we done enough about that now? You understand, right? You know your strengths and you know your weaknesses, right? I know what I'm bringing to the situation, right? I'm bringing X, okay? We're good. Questions about that before we move on? Everyone's good? Right. You all, go ahead.
So, I had one. I lost it.
That's okay. If it comes back to you, let me know. So you know what you're bringing to the situation. I mean, I'm not going to go one by one and ask you, and if it takes you some time to figure it out, take that time to self-reflect. Record yourself fighting and understand if you have to do that to understand what you're bringing to the situation, do that. When you die in a fight, ask yourself, why did I die? Not, oh, I got hit in the sword side hip, I died. That's the obvious answer. Oh, he faked high and I got hit in the sword side hip. Okay, that's a little bit of a better answer, but why did I buy that fake? Oh, because my board discipline is bad for my shoulder, and so I overreacted when he faked because I've been getting hit there, but I really should be fixing that with my feet. And so if I fix that with my feet, then I don't have to worry about overreacting with my board. See, now that's 3 steps away, but now we fix the problem and we don't overreact. You understand what I'm saying? That's internalizing and understanding why you died. 3 steps removed in fixing things. But you have to start asking yourself why. Why did I die? How do I fix it? Every time. Well, maybe not every time, but especially if it's a frequent occurrence. When I die, I ask myself every time. Because I don't like dying and it doesn't happen that much. Like, legit. I don't lose that much, and when I do, I'm like, why? I screwed up. Okay, why did I do that? Okay, it was this. All right, well, that ain't gonna happen again. I gotta fix that problem. Here's how I'm gonna fix it. Boom, and I go on with the next plan. If that doesn't work, then boom, I have another plan. You have to be adjusting like that every time, right? Every time. It should be that kind of thing. That's what combat computer is. Okay. We understand the internal part. Okay, external. What do you think we should be looking at? When we approach a fight, it's a fighter we haven't seen before, what should we be looking at? What's important?
Equipment, sword.
Garb.
Garb. You said garb?
I do.
Yeah. Okay, yes. All these are good. What do you think the first thing we should be looking at is?
Right or left-handed?
Yes. Are they right or left-handed? That's the first thing you should be looking at. You know, and if they're Florentine, it might not be obvious. But what is obvious is what hand's forward. But more important than that is what foot is forward. Because your range is based on what? Where your foot is, right? Where your furthest front foot is what your range is based on. Where your front, let me repeat that for you so you understand, because most people don't get this concept. Where your front foot is where your furthest range is at that time, right? You can change it by taking a step, but now your front foot is different, right? You've changed it, right? But where my front foot is at that time, if my left foot's forward, it doesn't matter if my sword's back here, it's still based on that foot, right? I can put my sword that far out. That's my furthest range. If I put my right hand out with the sword in it, my left hand sword is still further, Florentine, unless I have odd size swords, right? If they're the same length, then it's my left foot. Understand? Cool. So we should be paying attention to where their foot is, if they're Florentine, for sure, and then what handedness they are if they're sword and board, right or left, for sure. Equipment's important, right? If they're wearing like cleats, good gloves, like stuff like that, then you're probably dealing with someone that takes fighting seriously, right? If they're wearing like ballet shoes, if they're wearing like ballet shoes or, crazy boots or something like that, they're probably not that serious of a fighter. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that doesn't mean you write them off, but they're probably not they're probably not taking it that seriously. But if they got good athletic gear on, you know, then you're probably looking at someone who's like, oh, right away. If you don't know anything about them, now you know they take fighting somewhat seriously. You know, length of their sword, right? Obviously, that's very important to range. If they have a 38, a 36, a 34 and a half, like you should be able to at least somewhat tell that by looking at it. So you got to be able to get to the point where you can do that. So get used to being able to do that. So you know how you do that? Get swords of those lengths and line them up and get used to seeing them and understanding what they look like. Because it's very important. If I'm telling you to hit with that much of your sword, then the difference between a 34 and a half and a 38 is pretty significant. Even a 36 and a 38 is pretty significant. So, you know, you have to get used to length. And in this height, I mean, that's a pretty obvious one, but if they're very tall, very short, what else? What else do you think we should be paying attention to?
Equipment configuration, whether or not they're walking up with a low guard on their shield or a higher holding.
Yeah, how they hold their gear, if it's high, if it's low. You know, like someone who holds their sword kind of out like this, I mean, right away you know before they throw a shot, what are they going to have to do?
Swing back.
They have to pull it back and they give it away. They give away that they're going to throw every single time. I've told multiple people that today. They do this and I'm like, oh, thank you for giving me a tell. Every time you want to throw a shot, now I know because you have to do this. Like, now any feint that you want to throw at me from here, I understand that it's garbage because you have to do this before you're really going to throw something at me. Like, you know, if they're doing that, then, you know, they can do this. They can throw these kind of shots, but if you need my help dealing with that, you need the remedial class, right? Like, that's a different class, but right, they have to pull back. So right away, so how they're holding their sword, right? If they're doing this, right, which a lot of people, you would be surprised about the amount of people that do this, right, with their swords. What does a person who does this, what do they do? No, they're coming in, but what else have they done effectively? What else have they done?
Limiting their range.
Right, and what should you do? Immediately, what should you do if they've done that?
Keep them at range.
Exactly. If they address you like this in a fight, and especially if you're you, then you go, oh, thank you, sir. And you step back, and you stay at range, and you just destroy them for giving you that much range in a fight. Like, that's a gift. That is so much a gift. When someone does that, I'm like, oh, why? That's perfect. Thank you. Even if they do this, like that much range, I'm like, wow, that's cool. Like, and people don't even pay attention to that. Like, most people don't even look at that. They pay no. I don't understand why they don't. That should be, again, these are the first things you look at, like right when you address someone.
So your opponent's max range should be something you're looking at.
Yeah, like for sure. And when they do that, like you're like, oh, cool. Now, like, because if they decide to swing at you like that, then all you have to do is slip this much, and they're gonna miss, and you can hit them, right? Like, they've given you a gift, essentially. Cool. What else? How they're standing. If their weight is heavy on their front foot, heavy on their back foot, like all that. If I'm standing like this, right, that tells you something, right? If I'm standing like this, it tells you something else. If I'm standing like this, right? All of that, how my weight's distributed, it tells you very, very different things. We can go deep into that. That's hours of a topic that we can talk about. But yeah, how they have their weight distributed. You know, if they've really got this forward momentum thing going, you know, okay, this dude wants to come forward. Especially if they've done this too. Like, okay, I see you want to come at me. I'm going to go into my range game. You know, we're going to punish that for sure. But if they're like this, they're a hop back fighter, right? They're just getting ready to hop back. I want to hop back and cross you like all day long. That's what I want to do. I want to hop back and cross you, or, you know, counter arm all day long. Just make sure I keep my range on you. You know, you can tell by they're putting their weight on their front foot, so they can, you know, make sure they keep their range on you. Pay attention to weight, and you can see that. You can see that right away if you pay attention. Like, they give it away. See what I'm saying? That's why you smart people, after you leave this class, when you watch me fight like this. Have that neutral stance, like good. See how we keep our feet real nice and not too, right? We move like this. We don't give anything away. Our hands hidden behind our shield, that's up to you, but that's what I do with it, right? So I don't give anything away, right? Low, so we're not giving up our range. See what I'm saying? Cool. Questions about that? Things that we pay attention to. Good? What do you got?
I've been talking a lot. I guess like when they want to swing, like are they gonna want to swing when they're matching up? Are they gonna wait till like are they swinging out of range, or are they wait until they get close to you?
Yeah, that's after you instigate the action.
Yeah, oh, you're right. Yeah. So off the rip, seeing someone.
Yeah, we'll get into that though. Yes. Yeah. Okay, so that's a lot of data points that we've gathered, right? Like the things that we're thinking about, but we're building a story, right? And we're guiding them down a pathway. Remember I told you we're figuring out our own pathway to victory? We need all these data points to figure that out, right? We have our own internal data points, now we have their data points, okay? That we haven't swung. We haven't even come into range. And this is the shit that you're supposed to be paying attention to. Who pays attention to that stuff right now? Like actively pays attention to it? Yeah, I can believe that you do, somewhat. I've seen you fight somewhat. You pay attention to all that right now?
I pay attention to it. I don't know what to do with the information once I gather it.
Yeah, so we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But
like, I see this person has a very long sword. They've got a very big shield that's right where I want to put my weapon. They've got the nice gloves and they've got the nice shoes.
Right.
You know, they've got good footwork stance.
Yeah. Well, if it's very long, right, then you know what?
They're that they will have a harder time swinging if I get in close.
Okay.
But then I'm playing against my own strengths because I've got pretty decent reach myself, and so trying to close in means that I lose my advantage as well.
Not necessarily. You just have to see. Now that gets to the next part. Okay, now we've noted what they have. You know what you have. Now we got to gather some more. Like, right? But when we see their weight too, right? Like we got to see, okay, are they coming? Are they going to pop back like they're waiting for me to throw? You know what I mean? Now we got to go on to the next piece of it. So we got to start gathering the next part of it. You want to talk about the next part of it? Like how do we get them to give us some more information?
More RAM in my combat computer.
So just walk up to them and see what they
Right.
throw.
Yep.
Yeah, so if I'm trying to get information from my opponent, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can do it with the feet, you can do it with the hands. Like if I'm gonna line up to fight Dalos, it's kind of a bad example, but if I line up to fight Dalos, trying to figure out what he's gonna do, what tell he's gonna try to give me, then I'm doing, well, one, I'm looking at what he's giving me, right? Is he heavy on his front foot? Is he balanced? Is he doing a lot of big movements? Is he kind of static? Is he methodical with how he moves? So just paying attention to little things like that, and then trying to see, well, what can I get him to open up with, right? Or yeah, what I can get him to open up with. Some jabs, fakes, movement. If I start moving around at his range, everyone kind of has like a panic mode where they're just kind of, I need to throw, right? So trying to figure that out too. You do have shots, you can step in on their stuff, you can keep your guard low, you can bait it a little bit, see if they're gonna throw and bite. Did you have something?
No, I was just
okay.
I was literally thinking that's what you were explaining. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, you can use tools like that to see if you can get your opponent to do something or not.
Yeah. So I have to rest my back for a minute. Yeah, go ahead.
So when I'm trying to create opportunity for myself, or say they're trying to, or better yet, they're trying to create opportunity off of me, what's a good way for me to try and take more control of the fight for me? Like if I'm not trying to give them information, what would you suggest would be the best way about going about doing that?
So that's an awesome question. So what he talked about is with jabs, right? Is people are trying to gather information with jabs, shots that don't do much. Like they'll throw smoke, they'll throw feints, especially if they do it from out of range. They'll throw like this kind of crap, like anything, any of that. Just stare at them. I smile at them usually if they do that kind of, like I literally like I just smile at them. I'm like, really, dude? Like that? You're not in range. I'm not doing anything with that. It's unnecessary, right? Like if they throw like rocker steps at me and I know they're not in range that matters, then I don't react to it. Like keep your good stance, keep your defense tight. Don't give them anything. If you're going to give them anything at all, one lateral step with maybe a slight this much backwards, because that gives them what? Nothing. That's it. And then smile at them too.
Perfect. You gotta be nice about it.
Oh yeah. That smile gets in people's head, because then they're like, what does he know? Like he knows something. He's got a plan. Now I don't know what he knows. Like right away they're like, he's got something in his head, and I don't know what it is. Right? Like you're just messing with them. Like you're playing another level mental game. But they're like, yeah, they're start scheming against themselves. It's the most amazing thing. You're like, you don't necessarily know anything, but they assume you know all kinds of crap. Like someone came up to me one time and they're like, I know you knew that blah 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 blah, and I'm like, damn, I'm really freaking smart. I knew all that. Oh, bad. I knew all that. I'm good.
I got it.
I knew all that. I'm good. Like, and I smoked him with like a hip shot. And I was like, I knew maybe some of that, but I was like, cool. I knew all that. I'm good. Yeah. You knew I knew all that. You were in your head way more than I was, dude.
You
like
did my job for me.
Yeah, exactly. And they'll start outsmarting themselves, right? So, but yeah. So now you have the pieces, right? So the next part of it is to build a plan, right? That's the next part. We come into it and we build a plan. What am I going to do? And so this is the exercise part where y'all actually get to get involved, because we talked a lot, mostly. My fault. So what happens is we need volunteers. Here's one.
I got you.
There's two behind me. Okay. So how long does this go? An hour and a half?
Yep.
So we go till 5? Yep. Okay, we got plenty of time. Let's do it this way first this time. Okay. You two. Cool. All right. You're fighting him?
Sure.
All right. 3 fights.
You said 3?
3 fights. Yep. 3 fights.
Touch those gloves, dude.
It's a class exercise. This is all going to matter, because y'all are going to be making plans for each other later, so pay attention. And everyone see.
Hand. Scarf. Great. Go take it.
Get on.
Hand.
Okay. What was y'all's plan? We'll start with Blue here.
He was just trying to get his hands to do that, and then I whipped it.
Yeah. Okay. That was the whole of your plan?
Well, that was the first step.
Yeah.
It's kind of a wider stance. So get out there, and then I can get the arm and just kill him.
Okay. You.
My plan was do my best to stay and fight from range, use my long arms, and try to hit his torso, even if I have to sacrifice my arm to do so.
Okay. All right. And you based it on what information?
Mostly that my arms are longer than his.
Okay. So you saw your arm was longer than his. He took kind of an aggressive stance toward you. So you thought,
he's going to try to swing at me, so if I can get inside his sword and take him out, it doesn't matter if he takes my arm because he's dead.
Okay. And did you change your plan any from fight 1 to fight 3?
Very little, because I think it worked well enough for me in fight 1 and 2, but I think he started to catch on by fight 3 that that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so if we had kept fighting, I probably would have changed my plan.
Okay, yeah. And that's what's important, and we're going to keep doing this, so everyone's going to get the opportunity. But this is what's important. I told y'all you spend most of your time in foam fighting people that all the time, right? Like I fight my dude, Harry. We've been fighting for 34 years, right? 34 years we've been fighting each other. 35? Anyway, we've been fighting each other for a long, long, long time, okay? That's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of data points that we have on each other. And they've changed over the years, right? But I literally have a database in my head of things that I can tell in the first 2 fights what he's going to do all night, at this point. I'm like, oh, you're doing that tonight. Okay, that's cute. And then I'll like formulate a whole strategy for him for the entire night of what I'm going to do based on the first 2 fights. Because we fought each other that many times, right? One time I wrote a whole spreadsheet. Like I actually literally made a spreadsheet, wrote it all out. Like he does this, I do this, then this, then this, then this, and this, and I showed it to him. Made him so angry.
Diagram.
Yeah. He was not happy about that.
That's your computer programming. That's your if-then coding.
Yeah, pretty much. And he knows code, so he was like, "Fuck you." Yeah.
And you gotta know Arthon, because Arthon's so laid back, such a good dude.
Yeah.
It takes work to get under your skin.
Yeah. So, but like, like he fights Sunshine all the time, right? So he's got a similar thing for him. The people you fight all the time, you've got to start building that database for them, because once you get used to doing that for the people you fight all the time, when you fight new people, guess what happens? You just automatically start doing it, right? You're like, oh, I've seen this before. It's like this, right? Because you fight 10, 20 people on the regular, if you're lucky, right? Whatever it is, right? So you have things that are like this. There's only so many things you can do in fighting, right? There's not these incredible differences out there in the world. There's not these things that you've never seen before, right? Like, okay, this is like this. Cool. Well, it's like this, so I have adjustments I can make. And then your plans start coming into place that you already have. Understand what I'm saying? You start building them off of that database that you already have built. Cool? 2 more. Huevo. Tie. It doesn't have to be single. Y'all do whatever y'all want. It can be if you want, though.
I'm going to use single.
He's going to use single.
Oh, there was one other aspect to my plan that I didn't actively think about because I do it all the time. When we started fighting, the sun was behind him, and I didn't want it to be there. I wanted it to be behind me.
Ah. Yeah.
I want my son in my face. I wanted his face.
Just 3.
Y'all can go again. Go ahead. Finish it out. We'll finish business. I know y'all want to finish business. Good. All right. Okay, so who wants to go first? Out of y'all?
I'll go first.
All right, go ahead.
I started with my guard really low because I wanted to see like how he was gonna actively move it, and I just did like a little face fake to see how hard he was gonna pump. Like from is there. So second time I wanted to raise my guard to do the same thing and then fire over it, thinking he wasn't going to raise his guard as high. Kind of worked into it. Next time I try to keep it down, still the same thing, but keep a little more distance, wanting him to step in on me, and like hoping to get a little bit of distance, but still throwing high. The next one I try to go, like, I built it up twice for high. I wanted to shoot down into the hip. He did not bite that on me, but that was my whole thought process. If I'm doing 3, I wanted to get him built up to high and then go low with the last one to finish it out.
Varying it out, yeah.
My original plan was to just kind of like do like a quick, like let him step in a little bit and slide my feet together to get that, like meet him halfway, sort of. We got bait, like I kept getting caught on that high. So the last time I was just like always gonna throw high and I just traded on him for the money.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that was good. They're a good example why, because they started fighting, trying to understand. Their conversation started at a distance where they couldn't hurt each other, but they started having that conversation and trying to gather data at a safe distance for both of them, right? But they both were trying not to give each other any good data either, right? Y'all saw that, right? Mm-hmm. That's what you want to do. Start trying to gather those data points at that long distance, but don't give away any information at that long distance. You understand what I'm saying? Because people will tell you all kinds of things, figuratively speaking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, y'all can sit back down. Sorry. Figuratively speaking, at that long range, but you don't want to give them anything. Yes.
Because when you're at distance and you're gathering range like that, you mentioned giving like false information sometimes out to the other person. Any suggestions on ideas on like false things to throw their way to confuse them?
Absolutely. Yeah. You can definitely send false signals all the time. Like, you know, if someone's throwing like this kind of smoke at you out from out of range, like they do this, like, you know, like, oh, yeah, I'm very paranoid by your hip feint that you're not paranoid about at all, right? Like they do that, like, and then when you come in and they throw that same thing and you don't bite it at all, and then they go for your hip and you step into it, then hit them in their shoulder or whatever, yeah, just give them what they want from far away when it's safe, bite their feint, quote unquote, and then when you get in where it matters, yeah, just show them what they want to see when it's safe to show them that, and then, you know, when it's go time, then just destroy them for it. Yeah, if they're dumb enough to do that kind of stuff from outside of range, you don't just have to smile at them and show them that you're too smart for it, like actually quote unquote fall for it and then punish them for it later, you know. Yeah, you can definitely do that. My dudes don't fall for that anymore. If they see me like buy feints like that, they're like, yeah, no. Yeah, no. But yeah, like you can get away with that for sure. Any other questions? 2 more people? All right. Hope's not a strategy, but she's got a good one. Who else? Right here? All right, let's go. We need that on the tune. Hope's not a strategy. Okay, who wants to go first? Y'all can do it from sitting if you want.
Or at least in the shade.
Yes, ma'am.
I can. So because you're a dude, you're bigger than me, you're stronger than me. a lot of times you're more aggressive. So I went in wanting to give as little as possible, keep tight under my guard, keep it in place, not go anywhere. Saw you fake a little, wasn't gonna bite on that. You weren't anywhere that could threaten me. Sorry, fight recall is not that great yet. Saw you go for some of the sweeps, and I was like, okay, so he's going to be throwing the big shots. I can pick at some of the openings. Like as soon as you come out a little from behind your shield, I can take that. I tend to be a little reactionary as a fighter, so I can capitalize on watching for an opening and sniping at openings. As soon as you lost the sword arm and chose to put your sword in your other hand, it's kind of a gimme at that point. I just need to stuff your shield and kill. So, plan changed a little when you didn't turn out to be as aggressive as a lot of fighters your size are, because a lot of guys, you got it, use it. So I started being a little more aggressive, throwing slightly more shots than maybe I would have if you'd been all over me. I might have stayed tighter under my guard and waited for a good opportunity. I think that's most of it for me.
All right.
So, they picked up sword and board, so I'm matched with that. But I'm not a very aggressive fighter, like you mentioned. I will wait a little bit more so that I can see if you're going to react. That's why I did some of the fakes. I don't move well. I'm a bigger guy, so I try to not let you just run away, but I also don't chase. So when I was trying to open up some of your guard, I was trying to go for the shots that I felt were easier. When I was up on the hill, I felt I could get to your shoulder better. Obviously you were waiting on that and took the arm. I broke my hand, so I can't just switch to the left, so I keep it in the shield because it's stable.
Understand.
But I've gotten not terrible at getting a stab from that, so that's why I kept it in that hand. It's not super effective, but that's what I got. So, yeah, I don't have a lot that I can recall from that. I'm still kind of fuzzy.
Okay, so before we move on, I'm going to take y'all to the next level now. When you go into a fight, here's what you want to have. Just because we'll run out of time if I don't take y'all to the next level. Here's what you want to have. Okay, you want to have a primary plan, and you want to have a secondary plan. As you get better, you want to have a tertiary plan. All right, that takes a bit of doing to get to the third part, but you definitely want to have a primary and a secondary. Okay, this is what I want to do. I see them. This is what I know about them. This is what I don't know about them. I have my data points. I have their data points. This is what I want to do. Right? If that doesn't work, this is what I'm going to do. Right? I'm going to come in here. I'm going to throw this feint. I'm going to go board side shoulder. If that doesn't work, I'm going to try sword side hip. And then I'm going to piece. Right? If you stay in there with no plan, right, then you're back to what?
Hope.
Which is not a strategy.
Which is not a strategy.
Right. Okay? So then you need to piece out, find your space, be patient, and build a new plan, which should happen pretty quickly because you already have the data points, right? You just got to go, okay, that didn't work, so either I try it again, I just set it back up, throw different openers in, whatever, like throw a different feint, whatever, I'll mix it up a little bit, or you can even, just change it a little bit, but always go in thinking about what you're doing. Not overthinking, it should happen quickly, but thinking about what you're doing. What you don't want to do is spray and pray, right? Spray and pray means you're throwing 72,000 high crosses and you're pissing me off, right? Like, it makes me want to just leave, like, oh my God. You guys aren't learning anything if you're doing that, right? You're just, like, you come here to learn, so get better at learn. Don't just, like, again, this is just hoping one of these hits, right? You're not trying to do anything. Nothing's wrong with a high cross. There's a bunch of cool stuff you can do off of it. I taught some people some cool stuff off of it, right? But yeah. So have a primary plan and a secondary plan. So now, as we go through with the rest of this exercise, we'll be asking, what was your primary plan? What was your secondary plan? Right? So when you see your opponent make one real quick. If you need 20 seconds to make one before you start, then say I need a second. And make your plan real quick based on who they are, what they have. And then we'll start the 3 fights, okay? Everyone got it? Primary plan, secondary plan. If you're a real pimp, you can make a tertiary plan, right? Like, that's up to you. No pressure on that one. Okay? And we'll go through. Who's next? All right, I see you got your gear in your hand, so you're very excited.
I'm ready.
Are you too? Okay. Yeah, you pick.
Come on, Dasani. Which part of Winter's Edge are you from, man?
What'd you say?
Which part of Winter's Edge?
Like, yeah, Dragon Solo.
Cool, man. I'm from Nashville, so that's what's up. We'll get a fight together pretty soon, man.
Short drive.
Yeah, what's side of Nashville?
You said what?
What side of Nashville?
Oh, no, I'm not from Nashville. Yeah.
No, I'm saying I am.
Side? Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right.
Not a long drive at all. Storm. Oh, yeah, you do.
Oh, nice one. Nice. Oh, that's right.
All right. Come to the shade.
You guess what I did?
Come to the shade. Talk about your primary and your secondary.
I'll go first. My primary plan was he's taller than me, and I've gathered like. Step out the way of the camera.
From what's up?
Step out of the way of the camera.
Oh, my fault.
Yeah, he's taller than me, so I was like. Usually taller people either like hunch forward or they take longer steps. Or both, obviously. So I was expecting him to hunch over when he got into guard. He didn't. So that just blew my first plan out of the water because I was going to try to get him to hunch and then go for the shoulder most times. Second fight, I had a plan to just let him try to feel me out. So in the process, I could see what he would do trying to get me to let him understand how I fight. And then he just like switched hands in the second fight. Like he had it in his right hand and then he put it behind his shield and then switched to his left hand. So I had to change guards really quickly. And thank goodness he missed the hip and he got my leg because that's the only reason I won that fight. That's pretty much it though.
Alright. What about you?
I was having fun. I thought I'd give him some misdirection, so I held up really tight. So he'd see me choke up and then slid out. And fine, I wanted to engage. I wanted to start off, put him in the sun and see if he would switch, and he tried to rotate it around, which he did. And so we just continued to rotate more. I tend to leave the shoulder open, so that time I try to keep up a little higher, make sure that he didn't just get a quick shot off the shoulder. Engage, see what I could catch and see what, his style of fighting, and kind of evaluate off of that. Figured if all else, then I would come through the lower at the end if none of this panned out. And then obviously switched over to left just to have some fun and blow some people's minds because people, goal there was just to switch, tap off, switch the left hand, engage really, really fast before you had a chance to react to it. And the last one was more just having fun, I think, just kind of getting a feel for the way he moves and style. And that's about it.
There you go. All right. Who hasn't gone? All right. You two in the back. Got a few more to get through. And we'll have time.
What's up? Enjoy it. Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're both from Iowa. Yeah. All right. You and... Yeah, that's cool. Giggles. Yeah.
Where
were you here when
Me
we
and this
found out
dude
why
met at
Giggles
Keith.
was named
Yeah,
Giggles?
you thought I forgot.
See, Giggles.
Oh.
Yeah. I put my leg down.
Oh. Oh.
Dead. Got it. More.
Okay.
Very
You
unorthodox.
want to start?
Yeah, so first one I saw, his forearm was a little exposed. So I threw a cross chop just to like make him think about it. And then I came in with a kind of a feint towards his shield shoulder because I wanted him to return here so I could land and then turn. That didn't really happen. And then he was, I don't remember how that fight ended. He kept coming. I think I stepped to the left.
Went ahead, yeah.
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 Second fight, wasn't ready for that. I was gonna hit his leg just to like keep him there. But and then in the third fight I adjusted because if he's way down there, he's probably thinking about this. So I pumped it, swung inside.
There you go.
So
Yeah. First fight, I was noticing a lot of like forward motion, but like opening up the shoulder a little bit and opening the hip a little bit. Went for the hip shoulder thing, got absolutely crushed. Super fast hands. You know exactly the only thing. It's like, this isn't gonna work. So it's like, well, this is very different. I essentially closed off a couple of my target zones, so I only have to worry mostly about my shoulders. I can reduce the amount of targets you have, there's nothing you have to think about. And a lot of people aren't used to someone willingly going to the ground.
Right.
And that was essentially, I just kind of closed off your target zones on me. That worked the first time, tried the second time, didn't work.
Yeah, you went turret mode. Alright, cool. Next two. Who else? Alright. Cue balls, see right here.
You can do whatever you want. You walk down one, we'll do one. Deadly.
I think I know the answer, but you can tell me what your plan is.
My plan was I was going to fight that arm, and I saw him start projecting out, so the plan changed. I was going to take a free arm.
Yeah.
And that became my whole plan, and maybe I did bad not having a backup.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same thing. I was arm snipe. Tall guy, arm snipe. And then started baiting him a little when he wasn't doing anything, trying to draw it out. And then I'm like, he's not going to go for arms or whatnot, put it out. So then I was going to try to pump and fake for secondary.
Yeah. So when you know, y'all can get in the shade. When you know someone, like we're going to go a little bit deeper and then we'll go into the next one. But when you know someone is doing that, like you know someone is arm sniping you, right? You know that's what they're doing. And it's very easy to figure that out, that they're counter, like in most of the game, by the way, that's what they do. Most of the meta right now, the high-end fighters are arm snipes. Are counter arm. they're backpedaling in their counter arm, or they're backpedaling and they're like, they'll try to like do this under thing where they come hip or they come like counter shoulder thing. I don't know, whatever they call that. I think they try to call it dog tag or something. But like, if you know that's what they're doing and they're waiting on your action, then what do you think you should do?
Give them that action. Give them the action, or like.
Give them half or a quarter.
Yeah.
And then you know what they're going to do, right? If you know what they're going to do off of that, then you punish, right? So if he's waiting on, if I know he's arm sniping me, right, and he's waiting to see something, then I throw it out there for a second, but then I dip it back, and then when he goes to throw, then I snipe him, right? Like, you got to play with what they're looking for, but you got to do it on your terms, right? So you got to just take back control of what they're doing, especially when like you're at a height disadvantage or a reach disadvantage, then you got to play with them in that space. So, cool. Who else?
Good fight, sir.
Who else? You two. Then you're left, and who else after that? Oh yeah, you trying to hide?
No.
Okay. You got that hood on.
I'm right next to you.
Yeah, okay. You're like, fuck no, I'm not trying to. I'll fight you if you want. All right.
I'll take it.
He's fine.
Let's go, Cage.
Oh my gosh. She loves her ginormous.
You fuck, bro?
This at the shoulder.
Fun time. Oh yeah.
What do you say? What do you say? That's what I'm supposed to call it.
There was a link at the end. I didn't realize it had already backed up though.
Yeah, I put him on game.
Short if you spin. All right. Tell it.
So I know on my first one, I was trying to get him with the classic arm snipe, where you just kind of leave your shoulder open just a little bit, and as soon as I see him go for it, just rotate it and hit him in the arm. But that didn't work, so I started hitting him. That was the first plan.
We're back to hope.
First plan. Yeah, the first plan is pretty much always hope.
I ain't the strategy.
I see nothing wrong.
I'm trying to think.
Quick grab.
And then the second one I think was just trying to hip wrap him into a chop, and then at a certain point I realized that I was like, okay, well that's not gonna work. So I took his leg on the way out just to make sure he couldn't keep coming at me.
Yeah.
And then had to reevaluate at that point.
Yeah, step back and reevaluate is always a good idea. By the way. Okay.
My strategy was just look at his quadrants. If one of them was open, aggressively push on that quadrant. If that wasn't going to work, then step back, rotate to the right, and just wait for the arm snipe.
Yeah. So you have to get to the point where if one of them's open becomes, I am going to make one of them open. Right?
Yeah.
Like, we'll get to that, even though we're getting a long time, but we'll get to it. All right, who's left? All right, y'all two. And then there's y'all two, and then there's just you. Okay. All right, y'all two right back
with
there.
the ground tab. That's crazy. Let's go home.
Hoverboard is crazy.
I'm not the strategy. All right, y'all should have been paying attention, by the way, while she's gearing up, because now everyone gets to strategize against one person. That's about to happen, by the way. If you don't know. Not you. You get your chance. All right. Tell us. Tell us your strategy. See? No?
I started by trying to glean information by just bumping my arm a little bit.
Yeah.
And I saw a reaction that went high. So I thought that I could probably kind of walk up the sword and then go for arm or go for hip. I found that closing range was working out for me. I don't know why, but I found that going for range and going for hip was, or closing range and going for hip was effective. I mean, I noticed it's a flat sword, but I didn't really get much out of that.
Yeah. Okay. So going for range and closing was working for you because she wasn't moving laterally. That's why that was working.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the things I tried to fix. Initial plan was try to get him to come out from behind his shield. He faked a shot to my shoulder initially. So I was keeping an eye out for that one as it came back out, which did not serve me well. I was too focused on trying to move around him that when he closed, I froze up. So I wasn't able to move anymore after that.
Yeah. That is letting them dictate. That happens a lot. If you let them dictate the fight, then essentially what you saw happens. Like it goes back. It's worse than hoping a strategy. That's just like you freeze. Like you're like, oh crap, and then if you don't have like very good defense to get you out of the oh crap moments, then you just end up dead, right? Like you just get hit. So you want to stay. If you don't know what to do, here's the best piece of advice I can give you right now. If you don't know what to do, move. If you don't know what to do, movement is almost always a good option. Moving is almost always a good option. If you don't know what else to do, move your feet. I have nothing else to do. I'm not going to stay in range. I'm going to take their angles away until I know what to do. I'm not going to... What?
First line defense.
First line defense. Yeah, I'm not going to stand there and wait for them to hit me while I'm figuring out what to do. That's a terrible plan. That's not even hope. That's just like, that's despair. That's worse, right? All right.
There was another thing I did notice.
Yeah.
So her shield was like this, so I wasn't gonna go for the shoulder. I felt like I wasn't gonna hit it if I tried really hard.
Well, there you go. You have good shoulder defense. That's what you just said. So that's good for you.
There's one thing.
There you go. All right. Who wants to go again? And she gets to go.
I'll go again.
Who said that? That was very loud and enthusiastic. There you go. You're good. She didn't get to go.
Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah, she didn't get to go. I'm right here. Okay. And then we get to have fun for 10 minutes. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Group strategy. But y'all have to build real plans. Now these plans have been kind of weak up until now, but I'm going to help y'all now after that. After this.
Oh, no, it's fine. I was.
Sword abuse feints. Bro, y'all are killing me with that.
Those round tap?
Yeah.
Those are classic.
It's an A1 feint right there.
That's from your time.
It is. Way back.
Yeah.
Way back.
That's before his time.
No.
No such thing.
There is such a thing. All right.
It's back when the
So, my initial plan going in was just to try to play the outside game.
Doug swords, yeah.
Because I got a lot of outside game. She was ready for the outside game. Her defense was really, really good. So I knew I was going to have to move in and willingly move into her threat range. Which did not go well for me in the first fight because she took the leg out.
Right.
Once she took the leg out, I knew I was playing a waiting game. Because I knew that trying to aggress, we may have been the same height, but she had full mobility and I did not. So I was just going to kind of sit there and catch my breath and wait for her to come to me. And then when she did, I was able to wrap around and get the back. In the second fight, I knew I was going to have to be more mobile, lighter on my feet to avoid getting that leg taken out again. Because I already knew that I wasn't going to be able to stay back here and snipe that shoulder, because that shield, she works the shield very well. So I stayed as light on my feet as I could and kept moving, even when I closed the distance, so that she couldn't get that leg and I could reach over or around and take her out the back.
Alright. What you got?
The first bout, I was going to try to take the shoulder so I could hopefully get an arm. If that didn't work, I was planning on going for a baiting of a high cross. First one didn't work out, and so I did the short person no shit button and hit his leg and got out of there. Which I wasn't particularly pleased at because I'm not good at fighting people on the knees. So I specifically tried not to do that in the next ones. Because I didn't get my second plan in on the first one, I thought I'd try to bait the high cross in the second one. Also didn't work out. And I was specifically trying to get in close because he is longer and I am shorter. I don't remember much else about the second battle. The last one, I noticed he was going low, so I let him, and I tried to do a really stupid thing and hop up and get his shoulder. But I knew I was struggling and that nothing was working, so I thought I'd just give it a try, and that really killed me. So.
Gotta try stuff. It's not necessarily stupid.
I am difficult to feint because I'm very stupid and don't realize when you're trying to bait me into things.
Good job. Good job, everyone.
Good fight.
All right. Now, everyone's seen everyone. But let's talk about. Give me a volunteer. Give me a Morpheus volunteer. Anyone. Sword and board. Someone's sword and board doesn't matter. Cool. Cool. One of y'all. Yours first. You're first. Cool.
I'm on board.
All right, look.
I brought my board. Put your hands up.
Now, if I'm building a plan for him,
someone with a board.
I look at him. What do I see right away?
You got lots of legs.
Lanky.
That's a leggy man.
Long arm strength.
He's leggy. He's
Right-handed.
fighting. He's fighting what?
Right foot
Right-handed.
forward.
Sword foot forward.
Right-handed.
Sword foot forward, right-handed, right? Yeah, I feel like he wants to try to open up on me. Okay, right. These are the things that I see, and we're gonna build a plan based on that information, right? If that's his address for me, okay. But Then out from outside here, if we tap, boom, I dip back to here. Right away, you see how I dip back to safe space. I don't step in and start swinging or doing some kind of nonsense. And then I'll come in here, right? And so he step back, but he still keeps sword foot forward. I want to check that, right? Is he going to be more defensive if he thinks I'm going to come at him, or is he going to keep sword foot forward? He keeps sword foot forward, all right? So then now, this is when I really build, okay? So now I'm like, all right, I want to try to hit AK-47 probably, right? But I really want him to feel threatened on that board side. So my movement's going to be board side. I'm just going to start moving heavy board side. So my movement would look like this, right here. And he's matching me, that's fine, right? I might get my elbow here, come here, right? Like this is the kind of stuff that I'm looking for. That's my plan, plan one. Right, if his board comes down here, then I step over and I go shield side shoulder, plan two, okay? That's a plan that's complete with how I'm going to move based on what he showed me at the beginning of the fight. That's a plan, right? If those things don't work, then I go to another plan, right? But that's a plan. Some of what y'all had was like, I'm gonna kind of throw here and hope that maybe, and we're back to hope, which is not a strategy, right? So, what we're gonna do now, and we have very little bit of time, but we're gonna do it, we have a few minutes. You're the first volunteer, so you get to be the first volunteer. You go over there into the shade.
Okay.
Everybody, all of you people, way over there into that shade where you can't hear. Y'all get together. Who wants to fight him? Sword and board someone. You got a sword and board?
I got a sword and board.
You got a board? Okay, Quavo. All of y'all are going to make a strategy for Quavo to fight him.
Alright, but what y'all got?
All of y'all get together, move in tight, where the camera can hear you too. And I'm not going to do it, y'all are going to do it. Build a strategy for Quavo to fight him.
How tall are you?
5'10".
Never mind.
He's taller.
Don't let him hear you.
Fake low and hit him in the nuts.
Did you notice anything?
You have a minute. You have a minute to make a strategy.
Did you notice anything
Or 2
when you were
minutes. 2
fighting
minutes.
with
My strategy was to give him his head.
We would just go high. The times that they'd kill him were low. Like because like Dalos talks about when you charge someone, their guard goes high. So like I'd charge in, you'd go high. We'd probably have like a block strike exchange of high low, and then
How confident are you in your speed? I said, how confident are you in your strike speed?
Don't be trying to hear.
Because he's got a long way to go down if you hit him in the leg. You can hit him in the leg twice before he drops.
Double legging could be a secondary.
So he didn't do it all.
Dalos sees you double leg him, bro. Absolutely.
If he likes to go high, fake him high. He wants to go there and then take his hit.
He's got a low strap, so his shield side hip is open.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
the
that.
ass wrap is honestly probably the best.
I would do the ass wrap.
Ass wrap.
Okay.
Honestly,
Because
one
low
fake
strap
up there
shield.
or a stab going up to the sword side and then into the ass wrap.
Pocket would also be probably pretty
Well, yeah. And then if the ass wrap comes up, then come up around over to his sword. Because if you go down there and then pop up, it'd be like a
Add a ground
secondary
tap for sure.
Yeah, we're all agreeing on the high low.
Y'all got it? All right, come on.
Good luck. I wouldn't recommend.
You got a plan A and a plan B.
I wouldn't do a shield side.
I don't think I formalized it.
Well,
If you lose, you're not getting that sandwich that you want, alright?
I'm getting the sandwich.
If you lose, you're not getting that sandwich.
How about if I lose, I have to hit the dugout
We only
instead
have
of
till
rolling
5, right?
Okay. Okay, yeah, there you go.
Hey, we're here all day.
There you go.
Anybody.
3 fights. 3 fights.
Hit him in the dick! Hit him in the dick! Plan A, hit him in the dick. Plan B, hit him in the other dick.
That one didn't hurt good enough.
Don't take the second face shot. It didn't count.
Aim for the Richard noggin.
Don't take the second face shot.
Yes.
There's one.
Good.
2. Leg on death.
Thank God.
them.
All right, good. Now, tell him what y'all's plans were for him, basically, because y'all was all over the place, but what were they basically?
I mean, they're kind of...
Everyone was in consensus with just throwing some sort of high-low, like trying to get an about high and then coming low.
Okay.
I was really set on the sword hip because you can't sword flip forward.
I'm
Then
very
you can't forward
aware.
flip forward, and then I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna change my plan then.
Yeah, I'm very aware of the hip strike.
Yeah.
A lot of people like to throw that money there, so it's that's probably like to protect a lot.
Yeah. So you're aware the hip, so you were already thinking that that's
Already thinking that was coming.
Yeah. So see, that's the thing. Then that's where tertiary comes in. If he's going to block that, then you got to step across and go shoulder like I already.
Yep.
And you already kind of tried to adopt it. I saw you try to.
That's a big thing. Like when you pressed me there and you threw inside, I have one opportunity to throw for you here.
Yeah.
Once you fall up here, your guard going where? Coming up. I'm throwing here, or I'm throwing under.
Yeah.
All right. One more person in the middle. Who's in the middle? You're in the middle. All right. Me and you. We're working against the whole class.
The one time I won, I didn't listen to the plan.
Yeah.
I was just cooking on myself.
Y'all got a minute.
All right.
Yeah, who's going over this one?
Dalos.
I don't know, but she's my freaking unit mate. She's small. She loves to go for legs, and she doesn't know how to fight a legged fighter. None of the Spartoid do.
She's not very good at like fighters. She was small and she was aggro. She was real tight and close on me. Like
Yeah, I mean, when I fought her, her taking that leg was the easiest win that I got in all 3 bouts.
So Dalos is going to pick one of us. We have to all be ready.
Going both ways.
So
But
bait
you
the
just
leg
have
and
to swing.
hit her in the shoulder.
Yeah. You
Oh,
can
yeah, no, that's
bait the
perfect,
leg,
yeah.
hit her in the shoulder.
Yeah.
That's plan A, right? What's the other
Hey,
plans?
You
Plan
could,
A.
whoever fights it could just whack their own leg and say, ooh, leg.
Oh, that's what
No.
I was saying.
No.
You could just take
That is
a
plan
leg.
Z.
No,
You
just
could
take
do
a
what
leg.
Giggles did and just drop down on their
That's what I'm
legs to
saying.
begin
Like
with.
you don't even need to be wounded to be able to do that.
Yeah, we'll just send Giggles in there and have him do it again.
What was?
Well, he's going to pick who sends in. Dalos is going to pick somebody.
Oh, I thought you said you guys did.
No, he said he's going to pick
Hopefully
one of us.
So what's
Yeah,
the
no
other
lie.
plans then we got? That's a real hard shield to hit.
Plan A,
Hard
bait
shield.
shoulder.
Yeah, it's hard to get her out from behind that shield, but she will sometimes bite fakes. Which fake does she bite hardest?
It depends on who's throwing it. It depends on who's throwing it because she'll know when
Yeah.
it's faked from one of us. And
Yeah.
I would suggest when she starts to throw an upper shot, working on it, that a person can come off the shield. Just come off her shield and hit her elbow.
It looks like
if you're taller than her, she's going to especially try and close and bait you into a high cross.
Yeah.
They're fighting together.
It looks like too.
He's
if,
helping her
like, the
plan.
first couple shots didn't land.
So we're teaching
they
each
get
other
antsy and, like,
how they
move
fight,
forward.
and then they'll come
She
over.
also, even from the post-op after we fought, eventually, if you don't fall for her fakes, she'll do something desperate, like try to jump and
Say
hit you in
again?
the shoulder.
Yeah.
Is stalling a real option? If you fight her, she just
Well,
waits.
it's not as much as stalling, but kind of like closing.
her
Like,
out.
block.
ever seen Dalos fight before? One of the
Yes.
things he's going to give to her, for sure, is faking that up shoulder and throwing to that 5-1-2. That's definitely. She's. What's going to happen is, I think that she'll end up throwing. She can try and fake down. She's going to try and get you to come up, throw, and she's going to come in. It's going to be a little weird because she's probably not comfortable throwing that combination, but I'm certain you're going to see a fake into one of those hit shots. That's right.
So plan A, bait the leg, and take her when she falls for that because she wants to throw that leg. Plan B.
How's she do with that rotation?
Counter on her
If people
arm
rotate her.
when she starts to throw an upper shot.
Okay, so she doesn't panic when someone grabs that side.
She doesn't panic.
What's up? Oh, we picked someone. We picked someone.
Oh, we picked someone.
Giggles.
Giggles.
Giggles, apparently.
Giggles.
Right her on her knees.
We all vote for Giggles.
No, we don't need to do that.
And
Hey, we're good, we're good.
On the ground as much as I usually fight on the ground in the fights that I had. I wanted to keep something in my pocket.
Yeah, you're rather doing fucking
That's
combat
fair.
rolls. Fuck off.
A-Rod knows how I fight on the ground for real.
Giggles fights like a friggin' worm, dude. He's over there doing Dark Souls shit.
Giggles, have you seen the dwarf legs you can get and fight on your knees, and he has like little boots and like little dwarf legs?
Giggles, you gotta get some. Giggles.
Their knee
Giggles.
pads. Their knee pads are little, like
Let's go,
little
Giggles.
dwarf boot legs.
Yeah, I don't know where the knees were at in the pods, man.
Well,
You're fine.
Because, like,
Go.
fight,
Fight.
fight,
Go, go,
fight,
go.
fight,
Fight, fight, fight, fight,
Woo,
fight.
fight.
Oh yeah.
Dad, you got me now.
One. Oh Lord.
Oh, not strategy.
Oh, whoa, whoa,
sorry.
no shove, no shove.
My bad. I'm a Belgrade player, and I started pushing you.
Oh, sorry, I Belgrade too, so I didn't even think about it.
No shove, but yeah, unfortunately.
Nice job, Tim!
Reflexive.
Or it's snap from here.
Sorry.
One more.
Put on ground.
All right. What was your plan for her?
Oh, well.
She confessed to not being good against leg fighters, and he fights like a Dark Souls protagonist from the ground.
Okay.
So we sent him out there and let him do his thing.
It's sort of take the leg and snipe the shoulder, but
Yeah,
snipe the leg, so that's even.
The difficulty is you had two of your unit mates playing against you, and we know what you like to throw.
Sorry.
And they threw you under a huge bus.
There's like, here's what she likes
it's
to
like
do.
a
Here's what
cement
all of
truck.
her weaknesses are.
It was a cement truck painted
They
orange and
asked
black.
us how to kill you. I'm gonna tell them.
Oh, I know. I thoroughly expected you guys to.
Give her a piece of cheese and she falls over. It's hilarious.
Yeah. So we our plan was for her just to go mad aggressive fight one, because we figured y'all wouldn't expect her to do that, and just throw shots like until either he was dead or she was. Like just don't stop. She stopped a little bit. Like, you got to go mad aggressive, like ba 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 ba. The first time we did this exercise, a sword knight was walking by. I won't name him because it would be embarrassing to him. And a young lady smaller than her was actually like planning with me, and I told her, "Oh, we're gonna." I said, "He knows you. He'll never expect you to do this. Just go mad crazy on him. Jack your shit. Just go off. Don't stop swinging unless you die. If you die, you die. But otherwise, don't stop swinging until he's dead or you are. Don't stop swinging." She's like, "What?" "Yeah, just go crazy." She's like, "Really?" I'm like, "You'll never expect it. You got to do some shit that people won't expect." And she's like, "That won't work." I'm like, "Oh, trust." And this is a dude. He's like, kind of like didn't want to be. He wasn't an ass about it. But he's like, "I'm fighting her." It's like, okay. They tap. She was like, "Wama, ba 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 ba." But he's like, and I was like, "Oh yeah," but, right? Like, the point is this, and this was the point of the whole exercise. Like, you got to start understanding that I got to do some shit that people aren't going to expect, right? Like, if she knows you, then I got to throw some shit in she ain't gonna know, right? Like that's just what's real, right? Like, either I got to throw my tight stuff. I have my A game, like I'm gonna throw that in, but then I'm gonna throw in some stuff that they don't know. I'm gonna bring that to the game, right? Always keep them on their toes, like bring something different to the game. I would come into a fighter practice and I would go, tonight I'm gonna fight like X, whoever X was. I'll fight like Arthur tonight, and I would just like fight like him some of the time, not every fight, every fourth fight or whatever. I'd break it out and I'd be like, pop, I got it with his own shit. He doesn't even know I'm doing it, right? And then I'd go back to fighting like me, and then I'd do it, pop, and he wouldn't even know I was doing it, right? And you just throw like different shit at them. Not every time, again, they'll figure it out, but every second, third time, like you're bringing different stuff into the game. Other people that you know, like, you want to fight like me, like bring my shit that they haven't seen. Every third fight, what the hell is that? Throwing DDSs and shit, like where did that come from? You know what I'm saying? Like, just bring something different every now and then. Then it's what they don't expect, you know what I'm saying? You got to surprise people. because they're reading you, right? So you gotta change the story a little bit. So, anything else?
I have one question.
Yeah, questions before we go into recaps.
So at our home parks and stuff, I noticed last night that obviously coming out and ditching out here, that the talent, skill, and the intensity was significantly different. And realized very quickly, kind of have some rust or a speed. I wasn't at game speed. It took me a little bit of fighting to get to game speed. And I realized back at the park that there's too many times fighting, I don't want to say lesser people, a lot of times there's kids, 14 to 18 year olds, 19 year olds, and trying to fight with them, not just beat them down. How do you stay edgy and keep your game speed without just being a tyrant and beating up on kids at home?
Yeah, that's a weird one for me, but I will tell you that I never fight down because I think it's disrespectful. Like,
always fight like you're gonna be like it's like the warlord. I never always like.
Yeah.
Every time I fight, I'm always trying to decide like this fight is like the means, because otherwise, yeah, you're bringing yourself down to a point where it's just gonna be a little more than anything.
And sometimes I maybe grab a dagger or a single sword and let them fight whatever and just really fight a single way.
You can do something like that, or you can fight single sword against their sword and board, but if you start fighting down, then fighting down becomes your habit. That's the
way
problem.
I found, because like my park's like me and like me and 4 other people that barely know what's going on. So like I just try to limit myself as far as equipment goes. Like, so if everybody else has got swords and boards, like I'm just gonna fight in this game with a single sword. Just so I still have to work to kill these guys, even though it's easier. It should be easy for me to do.
Yeah, don't ever let fighting mid become your habit, because like you do. I promise you, anytime I pick up a stick, I'm trying to put my foot on someone's fucking neck. Any fucking time I pick up a stick. If I'm gonna bother having a stick in my hand, that's what I'm picking it up for. No other reason. Because that's what I have it for. Like, I want to be great. That's like, okay, like if someone's like, hey, teach me this, or can we throw a little bit so I can understand, that's different. But like if I'm going out to fight, I'm going out to fight. But like I could limit myself, like, okay, I'll fight single against your board, and like, yes, those things. But like I would never fight down, because too, like if you're fighting people that aren't as good, they know that you're doing that, and it's very disrespectful to them, and they figure that shit out, and they're like, oh, now you're just disrespecting me. Like, they know that.
What about the quadrant game? Like, that's what I do. Is that fighting down, where I'm going to kill this person with a sword side shoulder, next person I'm going to kill with the sword side shoulder, sword.
No, that's just challenging yourself.
And like
that's not fighting down.
That's what I do for like little park level stuff.
That sounds like the solution to his problem. That sounds like the solution to his problem.
Yeah, just challenge yourself. Like I used to play the defense game, which is actually a really good game you can play. Like I had to block X number of shots before I threw an offensive shot, and I never told anyone what that number was. I never even told them I was doing it. I just went out and did it. Like, you can use your partners as training tools without them knowing that they're training tools, right? Like, I'm going to play the defensive game, so I have to block 5 shots before I throw any, right? And I had Diego, which I love, because I made the number like 27 against him. And then I like had to block 27 shots before I threw any offensive shots, and he's like, pop, 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 and I'm like, yep.
It's only 5 seconds.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it's not that long with him, but like, you get what I'm saying. Like you're building your defense, and you're limiting yourself in a sense, but you're not fighting down. You're still like you're challenging yourself, but you're still giving it your all. You know.
That's some good points.
Like you're working on like a very specific lane of fighting. So
That's what I do when I wind up seeing like, because the last weapons master at Wolf's Run that I was at, like my second opponent was a kid, and I was like, okay, this kid gets to swing 3 times, and then if I'm not dead, they're dead.
Yeah.
And I've avoided some of the, and just stick with ditch battles and stuff, and modified ditches and things, and militia battles versus the class battles, because so many of the kids, and we have like 48 people, and like 25 of them are less than a year in the game. And so I don't want to just beat them down.
Yeah.
Also, like, if one of the new people get you, and you're like fighting at your like usual level, that person's gonna remember that, and that's gonna be like a story to them. That's gonna be like a thing that like kind of keeps them. I think.
Yeah, like
That's
I
a
feel
very
like, I
good
feel like
point.
everybody remembers the first warlord they killed.
I do try to
Yeah.
get outnumbered and try to fight 3-on-1 or 4-on-1.
I got ditch memory. I don't remember
And
the
that,
first warlord I
but
killed, man.
anyway, thanks for that. That's a good
For
point.
sure, man. People kill me and they put it on their
Mine's
resume,
the
bro. Like, I'm telling you right now, because I don't give it to them. You know what I mean?
I have a question. I want to know what's going on through you and Mo's mind. Jamie did this to me, told me this, and kind of changed everything. But you know, I had a high guard, and he's like, I don't have to worry about anything, but he's gonna throw either high cross or shoulder. So with the other types of guards, what's going on with your mind of like taking off the table? Because depending on how they fight, you know what I mean?
If their sword's like this high,
Yeah.
what am I worried about?
Like that is like Jamie's like if their sword's that high, he's only gonna throw high crosses, and he's only gonna throw.
Yeah, if
your
it's
shoulder.
that high, you really don't have to worry. Because
So, like,
before they
down
can do
here-
anything hip, it's got to come down.
Down here, like what is changing when you come up on somebody and their sword is like what is going on through y'all's mind? Is my question. What are you planning on going?
So you line up in your guard high like this?
Or not just any of them, like here, like out, anything.
I think it just mostly depends on. It obviously depends on where your arm is and where your stance is. If it's high, yeah, you gotta drop your arm to throw anything low. So I'm more really worried about, and also where your sword is too, right? If you're like this, what does this look like? Someone's gonna throw.
That's the high cross.
Right.
Right.
So like,
That's high cross.
like if I developed a counter for the high cross, then you know I might bait that. Go a dark side. I might throw a jab, catch a block. You're hungry to throw that shot. Counter. Do that. If your guard is low, then you might arm snipe, or you might shoot in my hip probably. So immediately I try to take that away from the guard's low, like kind of being off center line. Even the something he put me on. The second you, like we're gonna tap sword, okay? Already off center line. Sure. Already off center line, right? Right. We're already trying to cut that angle off. So if you decide to shoot over, right, then I can block that. And then, yeah, I try to block that. They're going over there, just counter high.
Does that cycle through your minds? Like Jamie's just like, I don't have to worry about anything. Then it just got me thinking, like, what other guards do I, when I see, do I kind of like, I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but I can eliminate pretty much half the shots just by seeing what kind of guard they're coming in.
Well, you can't eliminate them, but you just know, like, if they're here, they have to come down to throw anything low.
Right.
Like, you know that there's actions that they have to take, right? They have to come down here to throw something low. Like I told y'all before, if they're projected out here, they have to pull it back before they can throw anything that's meaningful, right? Like, all those things matter. If it's down here, if they're going to throw anything meaningfully high, it has to come up some, right? That's why this is really where you want your sword most of the time, like that. And this kind of, because it can go anywhere, right? I mean, it can be here if you prefer to. I hide it because it doesn't give. What information do you get out of this?
Whether you're choked up or not.
Top of the sword's up by your head. That's all we
That's
know.
all you get, right? You don't get any information out of this. Like, you can kind of tell if I'm choked up or not if you're paying a lot of attention, but that's really all you can tell, right? You can't tell where I'm going to come out, how I'm going to come out, right? And my arm is super protected from you damn arm snipers, right? That's what it's protected from. Everything's put away. And it presents that wall that you want to present people, like, what do I do with this? What the hell do I do with this shit? Right? And you want people thinking that. That's what you want in their head, like, what do I do with this? You know what I mean? So, what else? What other questions? That's a whole nother topic. But that's a good question, though. But you just understand that what they have to do to throw shots, you can't really eliminate them, but you know that they have to do other actions before they can throw in other places.
If you engage and start off, say 3-on-3, 3 or 4, and you suddenly find yourself 3 or 4-on-1, obviously your process changes completely. And I know, you know, move. But what do you suggest as far as dissecting out and processing when you're 3-on-1, 4-on-1?
You find the weak target and you move towards them and try to isolate them. Either weakness being in their gear set or in their skill set. Either one is acceptable. If they have weak gear, that's good. If their skill set's weak, that's good. If they're dumb, that's probably preferable. If their skill set's good but they're dumb and you know that they will isolate, that's maybe the best thing. Because even if they're good but you can get them to pull away from everyone else and you can isolate them, that gives you the best chance of killing them and getting it down to a 2-on-1. Yeah. Yep.
Is there a drill you could recommend for if you have a tendency to kind of blank out while you're fighting? You know, maybe you have the initial, but then you just blank out in the middle of it. Any sort of drills or things you could recommend?
Dirty fighting.
I would say that meditation. And by that I mean fight people in your head. You know, you can always fight people in your head by yourself. Like I fought people in my head thousands of times because you can just sit there and fight them in your head over and over and over and over again. Remember I told you about the spreadsheets of the fight process? Like I can do that in my head. Like I fought Arthon thousands of times. I fought him in my head thousands of times more than that, right? The people that I know I'm going to fight a lot, I run those fights in my head tons and tons and tons of times. If I know I'm going to bring a shot that I haven't done before, like I might bring it one time, and so I know kind of what the outcomes are going to start to be. Because you can kind of think through what you think they're going to look like based on experience, but you take it once and you're like, okay, this is kind of what it looks like, and then you take it home and you like sit down in a quiet place, like boom, boom, boom. This is what it looks like. Okay, this is how I have to dial it in. I step here, I do this, I do this, I do this, and then you think that through, boom, boom, over again. Every step of the process, just meditate on that, boom, over again. So then, I mean, the brain's a muscle too, right? And the brain doesn't know if it's real or not real. To the brain, you're doing that shit. So you're training it to be ready, so when you're in the moment, it's like, oh yeah, I've done this, we've done this, we've had this fight 1,000 times, I'm ready, I'm good. Yep.
Talked earlier about, like I said, you can go aggressive. If there's nothing there, maybe shoot for the arm when they go in, but there was other ways to potentially open those up. My guess would be feints.
Yes.
How do you incorporate feints into the strategy? Because there is always the possibility that, you know, you're feinting but they don't react to it. You just keep having 3 plans, and if they don't work, disengage and load a new 3 plans of feints? Or?
Generally speaking, you want your feints to be shots that didn't happen. Like all of my feints are just shots that I didn't throw but I could have thrown, right? They're implied threats. They should be real, right? Like this is a very real threat for me. If I do this and you don't react, especially if I'm over here, I'll hit you in the damn hip, right? If I've done this and you don't do anything, then I'll just do this and you'll be dead, right? Like that's a very real threat, right? This is this, right? And if you don't react to it, then you're done. So when I step in and I'm here and you've done nothing, boom, that's it, hit, finished. If your board goes down, then I just step out and I go over and you're done, right? That's a feint, but it's just a shot that didn't happen, right? If I go here, right, then I can step out here, boom, ass wrap, right? Shoulder wrap. All those, but that motion is the same here, 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 right? Here. It's all in this space, right? People make them too big, too much thought behind it, but it's tight, right? This one too. It's all controlled. Especially for higher level fighters. Newer fighters, you need bigger motions because they don't see this, right? And you smoke them. They don't need the feint. You don't need the feint to kill them because you just kill them. But like good fighters understand that that's a problem for them. They need to do something about it, right? So yeah, learn good tight feints with your body involved and start incorporating them. But they have to be real, and throw them from real space, not dumb space like we talked about earlier.
With intention.
With intention, yeah. What else?
Drills to help you remember what happened in a fight so you can better analyze it. I have a tendency to lose a lot of the fight. You know, things happened and maybe I can remember the last thing that happened and that's it.
Oh yeah, I promised y'all we would cover that too, so thank you for asking that. take a notebook to fighter practice. And not every fight, but at least like maybe a handful of fights a night. Right after a fight, write down everything that happened that you can remember. Just after a fight, especially one that you lost, and some that you won, because you want the good memories too, right? Like write down everything that happened that you can remember. Why did I win? Why did I lose? Not just, oh, I got hit in the shoulder. That's stupid. Like, I stepped here, I did this, I did this. You know, I faked, I went high, and then I went back low, and I won with sword side hit. Boom. Like, they did this, I did this. Like, everything that you can remember, write it down. Right? The more that you do that, then you won't need a notebook anymore. You can do it all in your head. But until you can do that in your head, bring your notebook to fire practice, a handful of fights a night, write it down. Cool?
Thank you.
Right. Yes, ma'am. What else? It was a big class, so it took us a while to get through all the fights. And usually it doesn't take that long, but I appreciate you all coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll stay in class.
The internal stuff we went deeper into that this time, but I think it's important. Like, understanding yourself is maybe the most important thing.
I like it.
You know your enemy and know yourself.
Know thyself is number one. So, but yeah. We'll,
Somebody once said, I don't know who said, your first enemy is the part of yourself you don't know.
Yep. Cool.
I'm paraphrasing.
If you have other questions, find me, message me, whatever. Yay.
Good job, everyone.
Message him. I'm retired, message him.
You show me. So you came in, and then when you do that other good shot,